After my video the other day, and if you didn't see it, let me know. I'll put the link to it in the comments next to this video. After that video, I was asked this question: are you leaving the Enneagram behind? At first, I was surprised at the question, and I said, no, why do you ask? And he said, well, you're talking about the archetypes now. It sounds like you're leaving the Enneagram behind. Well, that was such an interesting question and realization. So let me just start with defining what an archetype is. An archetype represents a pattern of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that have existed throughout time that people everywhere have felt or experienced. And yes, my work started with the Enneagram. Enneagram means 9, and it describes 9 different personality styles. My work started with it and was based on it. And here's what I mean about staying with the Enneagram. I see the Enneagram as a great introduction to the language of emotion, a language, by the way, which most of us were never taught in our education. When I first learned the Enneagram, I recognized feelings that I never had a language for, that finally gave me an understanding of my own feelings and that they were different than feelings other people had. And in a way, I actually was a trailblazer back in 1994 when I added embodiment to the Enneagram. Embodiment is another language. The language of our body is another language that most of us were never taught. And combining the language of the body with the language of emotion gave us the capacity to choose to embody any of the gifts of all of the types. Yes, we are a core type, that will always remain, but we can expand our emotional mastery, our emotional capacity and flexibility by embodying it all. And I like to compare this to when you started to learn your first native language. Let's talk about English. It was my first language, maybe yours too. So we started with simple words, mama, dada. We started with simple sentences, see spot, run. We're building a vocabulary. Now, we may not yet have heard the term jog. Now, when you learn the term jog, does it mean you're leaving the English language behind? No. Jog is part of the English language. We're expanding our vocabulary in the language in the English language. And pretty soon you added more words and more sentences and paragraphs. And look at how many words you know now. You're quite fluent in this language. The same thing is true with the language of emotion. At first, we learned, for instance, the language of the Enneagram. We learned how to be, let me use the language of the Enneagram in terms of the archetypes, patterns of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. I'll start with number 1. And just notice if any of these patterns are familiar to you. The perfectionist, 2, the nurturer, 3, the achiever, 4, the individualist, 5, the observer, 6, the loyalist, 7, the enthusiast, 8, the leader, 9, the peacemaker. These are all archetypal, right? I recognize that. And these are qualities that people everywhere throughout time have experienced. And you too have probably, and some of those qualities more and some of them less. So as we expand, what I did initially when I came across the Enneagram was I was so fascinated with what I came to call the whammies, challenges, and combination of challenges that get in the way of being our true self, of living our best, most empowered life. And so I focused a lot on that language. Now, I may not be a fan of that term anymore, whammies, because yes, it came out initially in sort of a funny way that pointed to truth at something that was otherwise painful. However, it really is the shadow side, which is a shadow archetype, because I see the archetypes as representing both the high side, the empowered, virtuous, and wise aspects of humanity, and the shadow, the low side, the disempowered, unworthy, self-defeating aspects of humanity. And as I've continued to work with this with people around the world, I've noticed themes that have existed everywhere, meaning they're archetypal, and themes that weren't necessarily related specifically to the Enneagram. In fact, Jung himself, the man who popularized and defined this concept, he said, the number of existing archetypes is not static or fixed. Instead, he said, many different archetypes can overlap or be combined, creating new ones. Well, it seems I agree. I agree with Jung that there actually is an unlimited number of emotions, meaning an unlimited number of archetypes. And I also believe that every emotion, therefore every archetype, has both the high side and the shadow side. And that's what I'm doing with a video of the other day, and there are more to come, is capturing the range of these archetypes, of these emotions inherent in human nature, so that we can learn which one we're embodying and living and which ones we'd rather choose. Because the truth is, we're going to live one or the other of each polarity. And with the tools of emotional mastery, you get to choose which one you're living and create and have life mastery. The answer to the question, am I leaving the Enneagram behind? No. Are we going to stop knowing the word see, spot, run, and we're going to add the word jog to our vocabulary? I want to always be increasing my vocabulary in English, perhaps some other languages as well, and certainly in the language of emotion. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, insight, and questions about this topic. And I look forward to dialoguing with you about it. So thanks for listening, and that's it for now.